Okay, we're making great progress here on our constitution.html file. And if you click up here in the mini map on the upper right hand corner, you just start pulling down, scrolling, taking a look. You can see that we have everything marked up so far. What we're looking for is to make sure that we don't have any kind of content that is outside of any of the element tags themselves. Everything has to be enclosed inside of element tags or we run into problems. We just keep pulling down here and we can see all the way down until we get to Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. And here we see that there are no markup tags around any of this content except for the opening paragraph. Now, when we go to our weekly instructions, we can see that we are going to have to do some work here. And it's item 6 in your weekly instructions. And it tells us that we're going to build an unordered list here in the Constitution for these items. So I'll show you how to do that. This should be a piece of cake for you after what you learned in the last video about being able to mark up multiple paragraphs at a time. We're going to use that same skill in doing this. Plus, here in the instructions, I even give you some bits of code sample that show you sort of what it's going to look like when you're all done with it. When we come to the Constitution in Live Server, you scroll down to Article 8, and we can see that all of this runs together. So, to borrow money on the credit of the United States. That's this very first one. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution is called the Enumerated Powers Clause of the Constitution. Now, folks, I'm going to tell you, I am not a lawyer. I've just been teaching this stuff so long that I've learned a lot of this stuff through experience. So I know that this part we need to list in an unordered list. Now, there are two types of lists. In this case, there's an unordered list and an ordered list. And the difference between the two is that an unordered list begins with the element tag UL, and an ordered list begins with the element OL. So what's the difference in the two? When we give an ordered list, then everything that's listed will have a number beside it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the fact that an ordered list always has numbers means that the order in which things are listed is mandatory. It's very important. On the other hand, an unordered list is just what you may remember people calling a bullet list or bulleted list. It just has dots beside each of the items. And an unordered list, what it means is that the order does not make really that much difference. So if we took this first item here to borrow money on the credit of the United States and put it somewhere down below to establish post offices and post roads, then would it make any difference to the Constitution? Probably not. I don't think that these are listed in the order of importance. And again, I'm not a lawyer or a constitutional scholar, but I'll watch a bunch of them on TV. Okay, we're going to use the skills that we've already learned. I'm going to select the entire list to borrow money on the credit all the way down through the end of Article 8, which ends with Department or Officer thereof, just above where you see Section 9. We're going to use the skills that we've learned. We need to wrap all of that in a set of UL tags. So Control-Shift-A, UL, hit Enter, that part's done. We put the closing UL tag at the bottom, the opening UL tag at the top. Now all of these need to be LI tags. LI stands for list item, and it's exactly the same whether it's an ordered list or an unordered list. LI will be used in both types of lists. So we're just going to highlight them all, just like we did with paragraphs. We're going to come down, and we can do this because there's nothing in between where I started and where I end that keeps us from being able to treat all of these in the same way. It's going to be a little bit different in a few minutes when we get down to the DLR description list that we're going to use for the signers of the Constitution. So this is the way the enumerated powers clause is written. So I'm going to use Control-Shift-A, and then the tag that I want is LI, and I want to make sure I get them all. So I type in the multiplier symbol, which is the asterisk symbol, hit enter, and my friends, we are done with this one. That is the entire unordered list. Control S to save, and then look over here in the browser, live server, all the way down. We are done with that list. Very simple. You just have to learn which element to use for what circumstance, and then use the skills that you're learning with Emmet, and you've got this thing whipped. I'm going to come down to the very bottom here, and we're going to do a similar kind of thing with the signers of the Constitution. I'm going to select from G.O. Washington, which are the initials for George. Come all the way down to the very end, the last name. Select all the way through Secretary. Control-Shift-A. Now this is going to be a DL list. Be very careful. In the instructions, I'm not sure, sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between a lowercase l and the number 1, but this is an L, DL for description list. And hit enter. Come back up to the top. Now this is what I was talking about a moment ago. It'd be wonderful just to come down through here and make them all the same. One keystroke, we're done, right? Well, the problem here is that a DL list has 2 sub-tags that have to be used, not just one. In the unordered and ordered list, you just have the LI tag. But in the description list, we have to have, first of all, the term. And so right now we're going to select the first item in each of these as just the initial term. So Control-Shift-A, and since this is the term, then it's the description term, DT. And then the string of words that give us the meaning of what the term means, we'll use Control-Shift-A, and that becomes the DD for description definition. Let's do one more. We'll do New Hampshire, and that's going to be DT. But now notice in this case, under New Hampshire, we have 2 signers. Now it'd be wonderful to mark them both up at once. Let me show you what happens. Control-Shift-A. If I put the DD, notice what Emmet wants to do at first. It wants to put the opening DD right before John Langdon and the closing DD right after Nicholas Gilman. But if we come back up to the DD and we press the asterisk key, then it turns it into where it's wrapping the DD tags around each item that's found in the highlighted list. So hit enter, Control S to save, come into live server, and then you can see down here what it's doing. It's giving us George Washington here, and then it's putting that description indented. But then we have New Hampshire with those 2 names right there. They are indented. We're going to do the same thing. The first line is going to get the T for the term, and then all of the signers under that name will get the D asterisk, and it's going to be that way all the way down. So I'm going to run through these real quick, and then we'll take a look at it when it's all done. Okay, just a quick comment here. Notice that whenever we did the UL and LI tags, the secondary elements were always indented, but the DD tags don't do that. They just all stay aligned to the left with the DT tags, and that's fine. When we do Control S to save all of this, and they come over and look in the live server, just go down through here and make sure you see that it looks sort of like this, and like the code samples that I've given in the instructions. And that is the end of marking up the constitution.html file. Okay, there's one last item I have to take care of here, and that's going to be to select all of this HTML file. Control C to copy. I'm going to come into my validation service, paste that in, and check it. So you can see we have no validation errors. A couple of things I want to make sure that you understand from what we've done over the last several videos is our goal has been to observe how much difference does HTML element codes alone make in the way that your page looks, and does it add meaning to it. So we can see that like an H1 element, pretty big, H2 element, a bit smaller, H3 element, a little bit smaller yet. Then the paragraphs, by putting the P tags, they are all separated with blank lines between them. What we're seeing here, and this is the lesson for you to learn, is to make sure that you understand that HTML element is the structural framework upon which the pages are built. And there is meaning because we as humans can look at it and we can see where one paragraph starts and another paragraph ends. And so that's the kind of meaning that I mean with this. Now, there's no style here. We haven't made anything pink or green yet. We haven't made anything hop around on the page yet, but all of that can come whenever we start getting into CSS, which is something that we'll start week 5.